Hi, welcome back to Zoomers the podcast. I'm Isla.
And I'm Eliana, and today we're joined by Amelie, who is our friend from middle school and high school, I guess. So welcome, Amelie.
Thank you.
Today we're going to address the elephant in the room, which is COVID-19 and remote learning. So, Isla, if you could describe your experience so far in one word, what would it be?
I would say independence.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Well, I think often throughout our lives, we just in school, our teachers kind of give us a structure to a lot of our work, and that structure is diminished over time and we get more freedom, but I still think it's really there until you get to college. And I think that's something we're especially seeing now, because one of the main struggles students have been reporting is not being able to really to manage their time and not knowing when to do work for which classes. And so I think at the beginning I also had issues with time management. I would get work done, but I have the problem of getting too much work done to the point where I get too far ahead for previous weeks and leave no work. So I think independence is just the main thing. And it's this time is really showing me how college is really going to be, because we're going to be able to manage our own schedules, wake up when we want. I mean, of course there'll be classes, but we'll be able to choose our classes. So we'll be able to more decide how our schedules are going to look like. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, how about you, Amelie? Do you relate to what Isla's saying?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot of independence involved. And for me personally, being a procrastinator, it's not the greatest thing in the world for me. But I think that over, the past 4 or 5 weeks it's been now, I think I've gotten more into a rhythm of knowing, kind of telling myself you do the work now and get it done. And it's helped a lot. I think it just took a lot of getting used to. It's definitely very different.
Yeah, sure. Since all your assignments are due on Friday or at the end of the week, how did you keep motivated day to day?
Well, for me, I would say what I just did is we normally have a block schedule when we go to school. And so on our A days, I would just do my A-day classwork, and I would just start at 8 o'clock because that's when I normally start. And then when we get out at 3, I would just be oh, how much work did I accomplish? And usually by then I had most of my schoolwork done and a lot of my homework too. So I think, which is honestly so weird, now that I'm at home, I get my work done so much faster. And that's another nice thing about this, is I can work at my own pace.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say I just set I was this is what we do at school. I'm gonna try and stick to that now, and that really helped. Yeah.
Oh, cool. How about you, Amelie? What was a driving factor for you in terms of school?
I mean, for me, I'm a very kind of deadline driven person. So the due date obviously is going to drive me. And so what Isla was saying about the block schedule, I don't know if this is the same for her, but in recent weeks, my teachers have kind of been disregarding that. And so I just have, usually it's work all assigned on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, due on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then nothing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is very weird. But, oh my God, I lost it.
That's all right. For me, I have deadlines throughout the day. So I'll have Spanish due at literally 2, or I have to finish a chem test by 3:30. So it's kind of all over the place, and it kind of makes me plan my day out kind of instead of my week. So yeah, I have deadlines throughout the day, every single day. So that's definitely made me keep to my schedule. But I feel if I didn't have that, and it would be a lot harder for me. So props to you guys for driving yourselves. How do you guys keep active then, in terms of physical health and stuff?
Well, for me, I was definitely really active at the beginning of when quarantine started and the whole online school happened, and I really liked it at first because I was playing a spring sport, but I wasn't really getting the workout that I needed from that. So it was really nice at first. So I would just go for a run and do some arm and leg conditioning, just do little workouts and stuff. But I've since realized I kept getting pain from running, and I've had this in the past. which is like I can't really run on concrete. I have to run on like a soft surface. And now that like all like the parks are shut down because of coronavirus, I can't go there and run. So recently it's been really challenging, but I've been able to just still do like arm workouts and leg workouts, ab workouts, just things that don't really involve like cardio, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find like a replacement for that, but currently I haven't found anything.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for a lot of kids is like not being able to do spring sports, because I know the biggest, like the most people do track. Like track is a huge sport at most high schools. So like I feel like that's a huge thing, or like swimming is a spring sport too. That's a lot of people. And then all the other spring sports, of course, but those are the two biggest ones I feel like at every school. So that's huge. How do you guys manage your mental health, like keeping sane? Because I know quarantine drives people a little crazy sometimes, especially being cooped up with your family. So, like, how have you been like kind of releasing stress or anything like that?
I mean, for me personally, I don't find it challenging to kind of like be cooped up inside and alone, because sometimes I like to be alone and just in my room and doing whatever. I think that the biggest challenge has been my siblings. Like I have two younger siblings, and sometimes they can drive me a little crazy, but because I think they have more structured school days than me, like during their school days I don't really have to deal with them, and then in the afternoons and I can play with them. So I
Oh,
think that it's just keeping a good balance.
yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think it's healthy per se to like dive right into like spending all your time with your siblings, especially since I don't know, I go to separate schools with my sibling, and like I feel like seeing her all the time would literally drive me insane. So keeping time away is really, yeah, which is probably really good. And then I think pursuing hobbies during the time is probably really good. Like this is kind of a hobby. It's like our outlet for just ranting, or I don't know, like putting information out there. But I know a lot of people started pursuing like music or art during this time, which is really cool, I think.
Yeah,
Have you been?
given people more time to pursue what they want to do. I've really noticed that for a lot of others, and I feel like I've been doing the same because normally in the regular school year, I'm so focused on school and doing homework. But now that like sports are canceled and I manage my time, I just have more time on my hands, so I've been able to like focus on other things. So I've started like making plans for the future and like reaching out. It's hard though right now to get started in some of like the hobbies I want to be in. And I started like archery a while ago, but like now I can't really do any of that because like the archery range is closed right now and all the competitions have stopped. So I can't really do much, but I can still like start planning and like reaching out to like make those things happen once this is over and we can like go out into the world.
Yeah, I kind of see it as like a whole like mental break for a lot of people. Like this is like much needed. I don't know if I really need it that much, but it's definitely helpful in terms of like kind of figuring out like what I want to do, um, what's super important to me, things like that. Okay. For remote learning, what's the biggest difference between going to school and then doing school at home? Either of you.
The biggest difference,
Uh-huh.
I guess, like the lack of instruction in some of my classes. Like there's just been some classes where our teachers just give us worksheets and no other instruction, and like we don't know what the worksheets are even talking about. And so the only like references we will really have for that is like our textbooks, which don't really help a lot of the time with worksheets, or like the internet. But then you just get into this whole hole of like digging up information and then being like, what's this? And then I spend hours like looking for an answer for just like one tiny question when there's like a million others. So I think that's been hard. In some classes, like our teachers have been really good about posting videos in like calculus. So that's been helpful. But I think for some other classes, it's just like, I don't even know what's going on and what we're even really learning, or and how to like obtain that information.
Mm-hmm. How about you? Like, what's the biggest difference for you?
I think that the biggest difference for me isn't really very academically based. It's more about my sleep. Like with distance learning, I'm able to get more than enough sleep every night and still be getting my schoolwork done, which is a huge difference
Right.
from like when we're doing regular school, because I never get enough sleep. But I found that like getting this amount of sleep that's actually enough, it's made me be able to focus better and just do my work better. And it's something that I never really noticed because I never really experienced that before. So that's one like positive impact.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big thing for a lot of teenagers. For me, I think it's having time to like take breaks in school, because for me it's pretty helpful. I'll just set aside like 5 to 10 minutes between my classes or between my work to like go watch a video or like lie down, take a nap for a little bit. Because like, I don't know, naps really work for me. So that's been kind of fun, just to have a little break between my school work instead of going like class to class to class every day. Okay, so one thing to mention is that we're all sophomores, and I think that, well, I've heard that our grade probably has the least to worry about right now, arguably, because I don't know, freshmen, they kind of, their whole first year of high school was cut short. They don't get to experience a full year before heading sophomore year. Juniors, it's like a pretty heavy AP year, and like a lot of stuff is, junior year is like a mess in general, I've heard. And then senior year, like that's really sad for a lot of seniors. I know that's been a huge thing. So, okay, so now we're on to pass fail versus letter grades. And I know your school had a board meeting. Could you tell me more about that?
So, okay, where should we start?
Right.
So, for a while, before a month or two ago, teachers were starting to talk about how the board was going to be considering pass or fail because of like the strenuous time and how different it is and everything, which is totally understandable.
Mm-hmm.
So there was lots of surveys sent out asking like parents, teachers, and students all like, what's your positions on this and that? And funny enough, all three demographics said we should not do pass or fail, hold harmless is better.
Okay.
So the board decided to meet and think about this information and see what they thought. However, at the meeting, they determined, let's disregard all of this and let's go with pass or fail. So
Okay. So what's so bad about pass or fail? Can I ask?
okay. The reason why it's just bad is because your grades aren't shown. And I know that seems like such a small thing, but when you look at it, I know a lot of colleges are saying, oh, it doesn't matter, like we'll understand, like a lot of schools are going pass or fail. But the fact is, at the end of the day, okay, I'm just saying a private school kid because like a lot of private schools are going with letter grades, but like a private school kid who has letter grades versus someone at us like a public school, because like a lot of public schools are going pass or fail, who has like pass or fail grades.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going and you guys are like the same candidate, you have like you're really strong candidates, but in that semester you had passes, they're going to go, well, we don't know what they really had. And so, you know what? They're two of the same candidates. Let's just go with the A person that has all those letter grades. So that's why, like, even though colleges are saying, when they have to make that decision, what are they, like, do you think they're genuinely going to be like, oh yeah, the pass or fail person, let's choose them? Because they have to make that decision. And it is a hard decision to make. But yeah, and the other thing is like, a lot of people, they improve their grades over the like 2 semesters, and not, I mean, maybe it is a small percentage, but there are still people who have worked really hard, and to have those grades like disregarded, they're going to look like the student they were first semester, not like the second semester student. And colleges won't see like how hard they work to improve, because colleges like to see that you're improving over time. And like, it's just so like sad for everyone who like, because like including me, who worked hard to get higher grades, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just so like, it's just sad because it just feels like all that work you did didn't pay off.
Yeah, that is really sad to see how, like, if we do pass or fail, then like your work equates to someone who didn't work as hard in a sense.
Yeah, but like the thing is like, it wouldn't make me as frustrated if hold harmless wasn't better, but because hold harmless can help people who are struggling and people who want the letter grade, it's really frustrating to me. Because like, think about it, if someone has an F, they're going to have an F on the grade scale, and they're going to have a fail on the whole the pass or fail. They're going to be failing either way.
Right.
But if you have higher than an F with hold harmless, your grade will not drop. You only have the ability to improve from there, which can help the people who are struggling during this time.
Right.
But pass or fail, all it does is fail the kids who are failing and make everyone else equal and disregard all the hard work everyone is putting in, including the people who aren't, that are really, really struggling during this time.
Mm-hmm. Amelie, how about you? Like, do you think hold harmless is a better option than pass or fail?
Yes, I was very like on the hold harmless side, and I still think that it's a better option than pass fail. And I was on, I was watching the board meeting for over 3 hours, and I think that when the board members kind of were like making their argument and like, you know, saying their decision, I felt that although I saw what they were doing by choosing pass fail, they, in their minds, they thought that, this would most help the most people. But I think that they were taking very like one-minded, one-sided, they had that like that one-minded viewpoint into the situation, and they're like, oh, obviously pass fail is going to help kids who may not be able to be focusing on school right now because they have bigger problems. But I think with pass fail, that still gives the possibility that they could fail. And also we were at school from the beginning of second semester until March 13th, I think it was. That's a long time. Those grades should count to something. Almost half of a semester. And I think that another thing is, in our GPAs, that's, for me, I think this is just a me problem, but like I was taking 4 weighted classes. It could have really boosted my overall GPA, and I don't get that. And again, that's a very like self-centered issue, but
no, of course
there are
not.
other people also have that.
Right. So I think like for your school and a lot of public schools, they want to help kids who are a little more underprivileged. And I feel like at least in our area, you can really see the huge like class like difference. Like there's kids in downtown, there's kids in Portola Valley, all going to the same school. You know what I mean? Like it's huge. So yeah, I heard a story about. Well, Isla told me a story about a mom on the board meeting talking about how her kid didn't have privilege when she obviously did. So I don't know. I feel like that's a huge thing. I go to private school, so I can't say that anyone is underprivileged, because we're all privileged able to be paying for school, and we're doing letter grades as a result of that, because everyone can afford to pay tuition for school and is making that decision to pay for school. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of the argument that your board was kind of going for. Like for public school, everyone has to go to school. It's not a choice. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why we're doing pass or fail. But since hold harmless can't hurt anybody, so I feel like that's a little questionable. Okay, so how about APs? You mentioned you're taking weighted classes this year, and then I heard AP testing is going to change a lot this year. What did you hear about that, Amelie?
Okay, so I'm taking 3 different AP tests this year, which is very stressful, never having taken an AP test before. So I'm taking AP European History, AP Chinese, and then AP Calculus. So for the AP European History, it's turning completely into they're all free response now. And something that I thought was really interesting, because they just announced this, is they're not going to be doing the tests on lockdown browsers, which means you're going to have access to, all your notes and the internet. So I guess what the College Board is saying is that the only thing that is cheating is asking somebody else for help. So you can have the internet, you can have your notes. That doesn't count as cheating, which I think is kind of weird.
Right.
And I really don't see how these AP scores could really be equal to another student taking it a different year when they have to take the whole, 3-hour exam versus our like 45-minute exams. I think it's kind of weird, and yeah. It's very different. And it's kind of we've been studying for this one type of AP test all year, and then all of a sudden they throw this whole new thing at us. So that's also a little stressful.
Do you guys
Yeah,
focus?
especially
Oh, go
like
ahead.
all like yeah, because like all the I was studying for, because I'm only taking AP Calculus, but I've been studying for it since like this semester began, since like January. And then to have like all of this and be like, this is not the platform. I'm like, what now? Do I keep studying if I feel like I really know the material? Like, obviously I'm going to keep reviewing, but I feel like what's really going to make a difference? Is there some other way I should be approaching this? Because all the ways I was learning and like figuring out how to like eliminate other answers on like the multiple choice section, like that's not going to apply anymore. So now I'm kind of left with like, what now? Like, what am I supposed to be doing to like study for this and prepare? It's just like a whole question I have on like how to succeed on this test.
Yeah, it's pretty unfair, like unjust for you guys to go through that. I'm not taking any APs this year, but do you guys think maybe that they're going to change the format from like next year, like for next year? Or do you think it's going to just go back to the way it's always been?
I personally think it's just going to go back to the way it's always been. I think that, I mean, I don't want to overgeneralize, but I think that a lot of these standardized tests, a lot of the times they're not really made to, I mean, obviously, in theory, they're made to even out the playing field and make everything fair because obviously they're standardized tests.
Right.
But I think that just doing this 45-minute thing, that already goes against the whole the idea of standardized tests.
Yeah.
And I think that the standardized test system has been in place for so many years. There's no way they're going to change it now because that would just create this whole new these like new benchmarks for people applying to colleges. Because if you take standardized tests, it's usually because you want to go to college. And I think that if they change the test, it would make the whole college admission system like super different, and it would be a completely new thing. And I don't think they want to do that because the world is already changing so much due to COVID-19.
Right. For me,
Yeah,
standardized,
like
sorry, go ahead.
the thing is, standardized testing, I completely agree with you, Amelie, that it's going to continue because the reason why it's been able to keep succeeding for so long is because the fact that standardized testing brings in so much money. And so like no one's going to really want to stop that if it's such like a money source, and the prices just go up every year. So they bring in even more money. So that's kind of the reason why it hasn't really left the system, is because of the revenue.
Yeah.
And so until that is not the priority, the revenue and our education, in my opinion, becomes the priority, I think standardized testing will continue. And the reason why I say I don't think standardized testing like focuses on the priority of like us as students is because standardized testing is made for really only a certain type of student who can like, there's only a certain type of student who can really excel on that type of test. And so it kind of puts the others at a disadvantage. And so I think because of that, it's not like it's a way of evening the playing field, but at the same time, it's just there's still an advantage for some and a disadvantage to others that will always be there.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay, that makes me like scared, but also kind of mad in a way. Like, I don't know. We can do a whole episode on college board
Oh yeah.
and all that stuff without jeopardizing our futures, hopefully. But I wrote like a whole article on college board being like a moneymaker rather than an educational thing for a newspaper, and that was kind of a big thing because I have to speak with a dean on that. And that was kind of crazy. But okay, off topic. So with AP testing, you said open browser.
Yeah.
So that means cheating.
Yeah. For the AP European History exam, it's an essay, and part of gaining, so you can gain 10 points for that essay, and 2 of the points are from something called outside understanding, which would be like these facts that you pull in from outside of the documents given. In a normal test, this type of essay is still given, but students don't get access to the internet. They have to pull it out of their memory. But here we are taking this 45-minute test. We have the entire internet at our hands to search up 2 facts that like is that makes it so much easier for us, I think. And obviously it's going to help me, but I think that it's really unfair for
It's like a huge chunk of the score, right?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you guys think that standardized testing and maybe even remote learning is going like this, all these changes are going to extend into the new school year at all? Make any predictions? Psychic feels anything?
I personally don't think so. Okay, without getting too much into politics, I think that the US as a whole is very money driven. And,
Sure.
when we're not in school, the schools aren't making money. And I think that sometimes their priority is to get us back into school so that they can make money. And I don't want to generalize, this the school system, because that's something that I don't completely understand. But I think that everybody's goal is to get kids back into public school as fast as possible. So I think they want to go back to normal as fast as possible.
Yeah. How about you, Isla?
I think if anything really changes, well, just bringing it back to the whole board meeting type thing,
Uh-huh.
from that, I've been listening in on so many of the board meetings, even the ones before like the pass or fail whole meeting. There's a lot of board members who, like, you can see like that their like main goal, which is not like a bad goal to have, is to like help the underprivileged. But I feel like sometimes they do that at the detriment to the privileged and really bring us down. And I think you can like help the underprivileged and help people who are privileged too. So I think like maybe this whole like situation will maybe help the board realize that their priorities are in that, and then maybe they can come up with better ways of helping people who don't have as many privileges. And yeah, so maybe like that will make a difference. Like there's more like computers and like resources given out to people who didn't have them. So like maybe there will be like more of that in the regular school year. But I don't, besides like helping and providing more resources, I don't really see like any other like changes like that are going to stay in place.
It's really a balance, I think. And it's scary since our futures pretty much are like at the hands of people in charge who we might like not trust so much. So all we can do right now is hope for the best. Yeah, so I think that concludes our talk today on remote learning. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you for talking with us, Amelie.
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay. Tune in next week for more talking COVID-19 and its social impact. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Bye.